Lads, I hope you guys are all having a sensational day, a sensational week. You know, the other night I was sitting there thinking and I was like, what videos should I be posting? I was like, I've been hitting you guys with this dopamine bullshit lately with my videos.
Hello guys. Today we have a list of top 5 light skin star. Número 5, Rich God.
I was thinking, why don't I actually just drop some sauce? So today, what I'm gonna be giving you guys is a full bench tutorial. We're gonna be covering like step by step, every single bit of my setup, my mental cues, everything. Hopefully by the end of this video, you guys will have added at least 10 fucking kilos to your bench the next time you bench. First of all is warming up. What I usually do when I start bench and how I warm up is I'll go on the rear delt flies and I'll do 2 sets like this to warm up the rear delts. Your rear delts stabilize. Your rear delts help you stabilize throughout your bench. If you're ever really shaky when you're benching, it's probably because your rear delts aren't warmed up properly. Now you can't warm up your rear delts from just benching and warming up and building up, so you need to warm them up separately. On top of that, I usually do a couple heavy sets of tricep extensions just to get the triceps warmed up, but that is because I had tendonitis with my tricep. If you don't have tendonitis, you don't really need to do it. You should be able to warm up fine just by building up in weight. We are on the bench now, and we're gonna do a step-by-step breakdown on how I set up and everything that I'm thinking while I'm setting up. We'll go from bottom up. Basically, from the bottom, where are my feet? Now, I see a lot of you guys benching like this, benching like, I don't know how you guys are benching. A lot of you guys get the foot stance wrong. What I teach my clients and what I do personally is I get my feet as high up as I can while keeping them flat. So I don't have them like this or any of this funky shit that you guys do. I essentially have them right beside the bench, not spread out or anything, right beside the bench. This is where the most force production usually comes from. You see all the heavy benches have them like right at the end, but I have them as far up as I can while being flat. So you wanna find where that sweet spot kind of is for you. Building upon that is the legs. I'm gonna explain the leg drive as we go further on in the setup, so we won't cover it too much now, but leg drive, very important. Moving on, we're gonna move up more. The next thing is your arse. With the arse, essentially what I teach is you want your arse as high up the bench as possible while still being comfortable. I know arching looks gay as hell. If you want a big bench, you gotta have a good sufficient arch. I don't arch much at all compared to other people who bench a lot of weight, but you want to have as much arch as possible while still being comfortable. In that case, you'll be able to bench the most weight possible. Moving on from that is, I'll show you guys as I set up. Essentially, after I've unracked it, what I'm doing is I bring my ass as high up the bench as possible. The mental cue I actually give myself is I want to bring it as close to my head as possible. Now, you don't want to bring it to a point where it's completely uncomfortable for you. Just find that sweet spot where you feel like you have a good arch and you feel tight, but you don't feel uncomfortable with how much you're arching. Moving on from that, we have our back. You guys got to realize bench is literally a whole body movement. If you can master each aspect of it as a means to each part of your body, you are going to press a lot more weight. A lot of you guys are too focused on just going like this. You got to use all of this to have a really good bench. So we're moving on to the back. As far as the back goes, what you want the back to look like is, my back when I am benching is the stiffest thing in the world. So essentially what I'm doing is I am tightening the worker wanted the smoke, but we've figured it out. I'm retracting my scapula as I'm setting up on my bench. So when I'm here, I start very low on the bench and I have my hands on the bar. That's one of the first things I do. I'm essentially retracting my scapula so tight to a point that if you put something in between my back there, if you put like a tennis ball or something, the tennis ball would stay there. You want to be that tight in your back when you set up. And essentially from there, all it is you want to grip up wherever your grip is. I can't really tell you where to grip because it's different for every single person, but you find a grip that's comfortable for you. And from there, your back is tight And then what you're doing is you're essentially digging it into the bench. And from here, I'm like engaging my lats, and then you unrack it. And as you unrack it, my heels come down, and obviously my feet are flat. And then my ass is coming as high up as possible. And then that is your setup. You should feel really tight throughout your setup. It should be evident. Like if you looked at my back muscles right now, it would look like I'm flexing. But aside from that, we're gonna cover how to actually like execute the lift. So if we go through the setup step by step, you start low. First thing you do, you grab the bar, you tighten your back muscles. At this point, I have my heels off the ground as well. And then what I'm doing is I'm digging my back into the bench, and then I'm sliding up, I'm retracting my lats, and then I'm unracking the weight. My heels are coming back down, my ass is coming as high up as possible. And then at this point, as I was saying with the leg drive, my quads are already tensed. As soon as I unrack the weight and my heels go flat, my quads are already tensed. And then I bring it down, and then I'm basically shooting back up. The mental cue I was always told in regards to leg drive was that there's two different ways you can do it. One is you're either on one of those wheelie office chairs and you're wheeling yourself away, or second is you're essentially down here, and imagine yourself, you can practice it as well, just sliding up the bench. That's what you want leg drive to feel like. And essentially, if your back is dug into the bench and you're very tight, you should be able to do this without actually sliding up the bench. And that's what you want to be thinking of. Your back should be so tight that even if you're sliding up, you're not moving. And if you're doing that right, then that is how leg drive should look. And if you're doing leg drive right, your bar path should also be changing. Bar path. You don't want your bar path to go straight up. You want it to come up on an angle. And if it's not coming up on an angle, you're doing it wrong. You're not using leg drive properly. I can show you as well, is if I am not using leg drive properly, like let's say I do Larsen press, my bench would more look like that. And you guys see it's just coming straight up. Whereas if I'm actually tensed, my quads are tensed on the way down. As I'm bringing it down, my whole body is essentially tight. And then I'm just shooting back up. And you guys should see the difference in the bar path. As soon as the weight touches my chest, I'm thinking of sliding up the bench. Guys, as far as benching goes, that's really all there is to it. Try what I've taught in this video. You guys will probably be able to PR the next session. If there are any of those things you weren't doing before, the second you add them on, your bench is gonna feel a lot better. So I hope you guys learned a thing or two. Apart from that, that's it for today. Have a good one.